They knew the violence of Korokocho, the gangs, and everything that was there. So every day the two brothers wore a long t-shirt because they didn't have pants and shoes. They didn't go to school, and sometimes they had one meal a day. The two brothers loved to play with their neighborhood friends, made soccer balls out of plastic bags, and made guns out of sticks. Every day their mother moved from neighbor to neighbor, offering to wash their clothes, and every day their father looked for a day labor, which was not a guarantee. And so life was just a struggle for the family. But one day, the younger brother was invited to go to church and get help through a sponsorship program, but he didn't show up. Instead, the younger brother, along with his father, went to church that day. And that day, that's when the younger brother was given a life-saving opportunity. That day, at the age of 7, the younger brother was sponsored by a children's Sunday school class. And they changed everything. So the younger brother was no longer like all other children living in slums. He felt special, like something good was happening. And so they gave him food. They gave him shoes and pens. They gave him a backpack with books in it. And so every day, the younger brother went to school. He went to the sponsored project on Saturdays and went to church on Sundays. That's why the younger brother didn't die. He survived. Being sponsored kept him from joining the gangs and taught him how to live with hope. Sadly, though, the older brother, influenced by bad friends, he rebelled and got into troubles. And by the time he was 12 years, he was in a gang. And by the time he was 20 years, his gang turned against him and killed him. The older brother's life was over too soon. However, I'm here to tell you that I am the younger brother. My name is Saul. You see, my brother and I were both born in the same story. We both knew poverty. We both knew hunger. We both knew the violence of Korokocho. We both lived in the same slum where most children don't live to be adults. But because of that one day, though I wasn't the one invited for a sponsorship program, but I showed up anyway. I found hope. I found love. And I found Jesus. And as a result, this is who I am now. I've worked in the same compassion project that I grew up in. I've also worked with so many Christian organizations in Kenya. And this all is for the purpose of me giving back to the community that I grew up in. I want to see young people growing up and be like me. I don't want them to end up like my brother, who made wrong choices, and he didn't even grow up to be or to have a family. As for now, I work with His Little Feet, which exists to love and train vulnerable children worldwide. I'm the current director, Kenyan current director, and I love doing that job. Visiting families, discipleship these children so that they can become people of substance, so that they can become adults who can give back and be dependent. Thank you, and God bless you.
So for some of you, you may have heard his testimony before, because we actually met when he was touring with his little feet in Lamar. Some people don't know that because I was a missionary in Kenya for a while, so a lot of people think we met when I was in Kenya the first time. But we didn't. We actually met when he was in Lamar, and this is Evan and Izzy speaking at the concert, and it was their grand idea that we should meet one another after the concert was over. But yeah, Saul was here. This was 2019, and giving his testimony. So some of you, if you were at the His Little Feet concert at the Theobod, you maybe have seen him and heard that story, but you didn't know he would be here again in front of you. So yeah, we met then. I guess you say the rest is history. This is us spending time together when they were here for a few days. And then we got married in Kenya, May 29th, 2021. So it's almost been 2 years. 2 years in May, yes. So here's just a quick wedding picture with all of our friends, and my parents and sisters were able to come celebrate with us as well. This is a picture of Saul and his mom and dad, and then Saul's aunt is the one in the green. So this was, the family was very excited for a wedding.
It's the first wedding in the family.
So they were very excited. Those of you who maybe seen the wedding online, there's lots of dancing in Kenyan weddings, which I'm not good at, but...
yeah, also, I'm a German when it comes to dancing too, so... But Shanda was good.
Yeah, Shanda's good at the dancing. So yeah, we got married. We still live in Nairobi, Kenya, which you can see on the map. We're in Eastern Africa. Africa's a really big place. So, but we're in the East. We live in the capital city of Nairobi. It's about 5 million people. Very, very congested because it comfortably holds how many?
5 to 6 million now. We are going to 6 million, but comfortably it needs to hold 1.5 million. So we are on top of each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a modern city, but very crowded, as you said. Most people come into the city thinking they're going to find work. Unfortunately, they usually don't find anything other than a day labor washing their neighbor's laundry, maybe being paid to do something for the day. And so that's why 60% of the 5 million people live in a slum. So we'll talk more about those areas later, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. But we also have a lot of beautiful places. You can go on safari right in the city. So if you come visit us, we can drive about 5 miles and you can go watch lions hunt prey if you would like to. But Kenya is very diverse. We have a beautiful beach, we have rainforest, we have savanna, we have desert, we have Nairobi. So we live in the east part of the city, the most congested part of the city, the highest population, but that's where we do our ministry. So it's important for us to be living close to the area in which we work. This is a picture of our house that we rent. It was still being constructed, but we live in that little black gate. And this small one is a little shop. So if I need milk, I just go right outside the house and you can do some of those shopping things. But just to give you an idea, this is a picture of where we live.
Yeah, and I think we all have come into contact with the His Little Feet, yeah? And so I toured with His Little Feet for 3 years, 2016 to 2019 here in the United States. And of course, it gave me an opportunity also to meet Shelby. And I think that was the biggest blessing. Yes. And so, yeah, but when the kids are in the United States, they tour for about 10 months. And then the question is, what's next for the children when they go back home? And so His Little Feet created the community centers in the home countries of the children. And for our community center, we created it in 2019 when I went back. So that's when we started having a global community center. So it's not really our place. It's a place that we still hire. We still don't have our own, and we pay rent We pay rent monthly. And so right now we have 25 children with us that we are serving. And not only that we are serving the children alone, we serve the whole family. And so I can say it's 25 families. And so we do so many things with them. Our schedule from Monday to Monday, it's always full with activities, full of so many things to do for the families, to do for the young people, and such. And so when the kids are on break from school, in Kenya, we have 3 breaks per year. And so we have April, we have August, and then we have the whole of December. So it's not like in America where you just have one big kind of a thing. And so each and every year, for once, we shall call them a term. Once in a term, we meet with kids for about a week or 2 weeks, where we have so many things going on.
Yeah, so as he said, when the kids are out of school, all of the His Little Feet children are in boarding schools. So when they get a break to come home for those times, we have them at our community center, and it's a good way to keep them out of the slum during the day where their parents are worried about their safety. It's also a good time for us to pour into their lives and continue discipling them. Every day we start off our morning with quiet time. Sometimes we give them something to read, questions. Sometimes we just tell them it's your personal quiet time. That's a discipline of His Little Feet. Even when they're in the U.S., they have quiet time every day. And so that's something we want to continue even when they're back in their home countries. They've been taught how to do quiet time, and so we want to continue. This is one of our girls in high school, and then this other one is a sibling, and she's only about 4. But even starting, of course she can't write or anything, but even us just sitting with her and just teaching her the importance of quiet time, even that young. So that's how we start our day.
And of course, we also have a worship time, and we try to train the kids of the importance of just coming together and having a moment of worship, singing together, a moment of meditation, and also sharing in word. And we have one of the adults who comes and share, or maybe sometimes we have one of the kids come and share something that he's been learning even in their quiet times.
Yeah, sorry, we have videos, but they're buffering, so I don't think we'll be able to show those today. But yeah, like he said, we do devotions, Bible lessons with the kids. We split them up in age groups, and we have that time as well. Educational assistance, we help tutor them, or sometimes they're sent for homework on school break. So, and as much as we want them to be educated, because that's the only way to have opportunities in their future, our biggest goal is educating them on the Bible and what it means to be a Christian and all of that. But we do take time for helping them with their homework, trying to identify a need. In Kenya, as long as 2 people in the class get it, we move on to the next subject. There's no extra assistance by teachers. So for us, we have to be the ones to identify is there a need, and we try to catch them up on our own time. And so, yeah, that's basically all I have to say about that. Do you have anything?
Yeah, and maybe to add on the education assistance, in the Kenyan class, I think for a public school Kenyan class, one teacher is in charge of about 60 to 70 children. And that's why when a teacher gets 2 kids who've gotten something, he's ready, or they're ready to move on to another thing. And most of the children end up not even getting. One of our child who is in the US now, she is in grade 5, but she can't do a sum of grade 2. That's how she's behind. And so during school breaks, we try to identify those needs and try to help them even in their education time.
And I think it's also important to add, most of their parents don't have that education, so they're not able to help them. And so it's trying to change that generational cycle of not being educated. And His Little Feet also pays for their school fees, because school in Kenya is not free. So that's another thing. They're even blessed to be able to go to school because of His Little Feet providing that. We also do life skills training, which can be anything from just talking about how we interact in society, manners. This girl wanted to learn how to bake, so I brought her to my house. We baked cakes for a birthday party and sugar cookies for Christmas. And so just pouring into their interests. We know not everyone maybe is going to go to college, but just teaching them how to be good citizens, teaching them skills that they can use later in life. So that's one thing that we focus on too. Some of them have an interest in guitar. Saul works with them on playing guitar and those things.
Yeah, we have like 3 who are learning guitars, and soon they're going to be joining praise and worship in their churches. Apart from that, we also do games with the children. And I think it's a small space, but we try to maximize on the little things that we have and make sure that it's entertaining, not only just doing the Bible things and all that, but we get them together, we do board games. And again, outside there is a swimming pool where kids go also and swim, and also we have a playing field where kids go and play soccer too. And so this is one thing that they look forward to. They always look forward to come at the community center and get all this.
We also, especially for the young ones, we have times to do arts and crafts. Sometimes Saul likes to color as well. But really, especially for the little ones, trying to do something that always goes with the lesson for the day. This particular one was about Christmas. We made angels when the angels came to the shepherds, I think is the one that we use this for. And even in these activities, we work on memorizing verses, which is something I should have mentioned earlier, but these 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds, they memorize those verses every day. They'll come and they know. And so it's always exciting to see them craving that deeper knowledge, and these activities are a good way for them to remember as well.
Oh, this was me. We also do mentorship and discipleship for those children, and we try in as much to have a one-on-one with each, and sometimes we can't do it in 1 week, and so we try in as much on how we can impact, and that is one of my biggest thing that I want to see these kids growing, and so we try to do that and having an one-on-one and just training them to be good citizens.
I assist with medical care, taking kids to medical appointments. I do the dental exams myself, and various things like that. Kenya has like a national health care plan, so to speak. So His Little Feet makes sure all of the families are covered under that. So these families living in poverty, and even for us here in the United States who aren't in poverty, medical care, an unexpected medical thing can really devastate a family. And especially in Kenya when you're living on $1 a day already. And so that's one thing we're able to provide them is the health care. But some things aren't covered, like dental and vision. And so I do eye tests on the children and medical exams first, and then we identify, is there something that needs to be done? And then we take them. So that's just a picture, a little bit of what we do as far as caring for the medical of the children, especially, and then sometimes maybe I'll go with a family member for their own appointment if they need. One thing in Kenya is if you have a cold, we're not going to know what it is. We just give you cough. We treat symptoms. Sometimes they don't go for what is the diagnosis. So sometimes I have to go with people who are really struggling and start asking doctors questions. Even though I'm a dental person, if I use a medical term, they start listening to you a little bit more. And so sometimes I have to step in and do some of those things and pretend I really know what I'm talking about. So thankfully I had pharmacology when I was in school. So some of the medicines, I'm like, nah, I don't know really if that is gonna. So unfortunately, sometimes the system is not that great, and so I step in a little bit and try to assist the families with those aspects. Another thing that we do, is home visits to our families. This is what we really focus on when our children are in school. And as I said, they're in boarding school, they're away from their families. So we take that time to go check in on the rest of the family. How is the parent doing? How are the other siblings doing? How's grandmother doing? So we take time to go visit them, pray with them, see what's really going on with their needs. I forgot what I was going to say. We have nights too where we have all the family. I didn't put this in here, but we have nights where we have all the families once a quarter. We have all of the families come to our community center, our small hall. It's much smaller than this one.
Very.
It's maybe the size of the overflow. But we have when we have all 25 families, it's usually like 100 people. And so we just all come together and they encourage one another. We have the monthly parent meetings with all the parents, and it's really good to just see His Little Feet. They're all becoming a community, parents. They support one another in various things, and that's what we want. We want them to kind of create their own community. And so we're able to do that by hosting those things, but also checking in on their families in home visits. This video is not going to play, so we can go on to the next one.
His Little Feet started a microfinance. This is small loans that the parents can come and borrow money from His Little Feet, and then they can go and start a small business. And so we've offered that to the parents. And so far we have like 7 parents who've taken loans. And they need to pay, but the best thing is they're paying without an interest. So this is just to see that in as much that we are supporting the child, but how can we also support the family? So the families that took the loans, they are now able even now to take care of the other needs and to take care of other kids that they have.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal of His Little Feet. We want these parents to overcome their circumstances. We want them to be able to run a business so that if something ever happened and His Little Feet stepped out of their lives, nothing would change. We don't want to come in and provide all of these things and not better a family's situation. You never know what could happen, especially during the time of COVID and people aren't touring, so they're not touring, they're not getting offering, which is how they get their money. And so I think all religious organizations, in a way, were worried about giving. And so you never know what could happen. And so our ultimate goal is that these families can get to a point where they're like, you can give our assistance to another child. We don't need it. And so I know that's a very long-term goal, but ultimately that's our goal for these families. I think that kind of sums up what we do with His Little Feet, which is I just volunteer. Saul's the one who works for them. So that's your paid job.
Yeah, that's my paid
and
job.
that's ministry, which takes up most of our time. But we also do so many things outside of His Little Feet in the spare time that we have. And so I think we're gonna transition now to some of those things. And this is really more focused on the post-high school youth. You know, His Little Feet deals with the children until high school and a little bit into college, but this ministry is different, and it deals with all of the kids who have left high school or maybe post-college, but now they have nothing to do.
So we have Sunday's fellowship. During COVID, what happened is all the churches were closed, and there was nothing like even. We were so much in fear because I remember we were watching news and mostly it was Italy. We were seeing people dying and all that. And in Kenya, we were so much afraid. If these things hit Kenya, because we are on top of each other, so we were like, we will all die. And I think the country was closed after we had 1 or 2 cases. The country was closed down. There was nothing like really moving. And so for some times, the young people became restless. What do we do?
Now, our space, the GCC, the community center, the Global Community Center, it's pretty much a little hidden. And so we would come as young people, we would hide in a way and come together just to hang out and to play games and to get to know how people are doing. And so that's what created the Sunday Fellowship. And so people are like, okay, we are not going to church. Now, what do we do? And since we can meet here and no one knows that we were here, we are kind of like what we call those churches that... underground churches. That's how we were in Nairobi, because we didn't want to be breaking the law because the government has said that. But the young people wanted to meet. And so that's how we did. So we met Sundays. We would come from morning to evening. And so stay there, do worship, and continue doing all stuff that the young people can do, just hanging out. It's being said that young people want to spend most of their time in the church, but the church doesn't provide these spaces. That is in Kenya. And so we've tried to do this for the young people where they can come and we can just do life and tackle those topics that mostly they're not spoken even at the pulpit. And so that's what the Sunday Fellowship does. And of course, we have a kind of like a Bible study, but we are doing a book called Inside Out by Larry Crabb. It's a Christian living book. And so we meet on Thursdays, and also we meet on Sundays for the fellowships.
And this picture in the center is chai, which is Kenyan, and mandazi, which are kind of like a donut. And so we also provide those when they come for the fellowship. Some people haven't eaten all day, and that's what they're going to eat. And so for us, that's what we provide for them. But yeah, like he said, on Sundays, it's a lot of time of worship, devotions, and then maybe we'll talk something that we don't talk about in church. I think even one Sunday I led a discussion on love language, and we even do finances. What is biblical? How do you handle your finances biblically? And so we talk of various amount of subjects that are very important, but maybe the church isn't giving them an opportunity to learn. So that's what we really focus on Sunday. Like he said, Thursday, we're doing that book on Christian living.
That's
leading worship.
Leading worship.
And again, thank you to FCC, Lamar, who gave us the sound system, the PA system.
Yeah.
When you're in a room and we have 100 people and we're having a discussion, it's really hard to hear. And so it's been great for worship. We have so many people wanting to lead worship, and so it's been great to have the mics, and so we're very thankful for that, and the TVs as well. This is before we had all of that. We had like 100 people. It's hard to see in that picture, but I think we had over 100 people there that Sunday. That's just another picture. We had to they raised their own money to buy more chairs because we were running out of chairs as well. So these people are standing. That was before we bought new chairs. And so they decided to do a fundraiser to buy more chairs.
We also do Bible clubs in the schools. The best thing with Kenya is you can go to a public school and preach. You can go to a Bible school and do a Bible study. And so we have like 5 schools, public, that we usually go and do Bible clubs. We are just given a lesson of about 35 minutes, and in that 35 minutes, we divide ourselves into classes, and then we do those Bible clubs. And so we do worship also, and we do Bible lessons with the children.
It's always the kids' favorite day, especially when I'm there.
Yeah.
Not because I'm a good teacher, but just because I'm different. This is a picture of an opportunity we had. Sometimes other schools from outside the city invite us to come. This is a school that actually was started by a girl from Branson, and my cousin was there in August to drill a well in this community, and so she invited us to go. And so the kids loved. Saul was leading them in worship, and you gave a lesson, I think, too. Yep. So yeah, he was able to give them a lesson and do worship. But they had a great time. This is one. Two, we went to a very, very rural place in Western Kenya. I can't get this one to go, but anyways, just teaching the kids a song and just seeing them grow. This is, I think in the video, if you watch during church service, we talk about weekend challenges. Sometimes a high school invites our pastor from our church, and then he invites us to go with him to high schools. And so high schools are boarding in Kenya, and they're separated, a girls' school and a boys' school. There's a few mixed. So this particular one was a girls' high school with 1,000 students, or 1,200. And so our pastor leads devotions, not really sermons, Bible lessons. Saul leads worship, and then I was given, along with our pastor, the question and answer session. And so we have the girls write questions throughout the weekend, and then we have one afternoon where we answer their questions. They might ask anything from how do I know I'm saved to how do I deal with someone who's annoying me. Just so many, there's so many questions that we get, but really they're all just seeking for the truth. And so I think this is also an important time to tell them what the truth is and what true salvation is. At the end, when our pastor is always asking them who wants to be saved, he has them stay. And then we separate them. Who has been saved before? Who's raised their hand before and who hasn't? Because to many of these girls, if I raise my hand to be saved and I prayed the prayer and my life doesn't get better, then I don't think I was really saved. Because there's a lot of false teaching that once you're saved, your life is better. And so for us, it's there to tell them the truth, and that once you've been saved and you truly believe that in your heart, it's a one-time thing. You know, we're all so really speaking the truth into them, and that just because your life doesn't get better doesn't mean you're not saved, because that's not what we're promised on earth. And so,
yeah, that's Kenya. I think I was talking to someone, and we say Christianity in Kenya is so spread, but the depth is so little. And so that's why we are focusing on discipleship, in trying to let the young people get to know what it really means to be a Christian, and to be aware of the false teaching, like all those things. And so, yeah.
I won't spend much time talking about this because it's in our video if you're here for a church service. This is a food distribution we do at Christmas. We think it's really important that His Little Feet children, and also the young adults who come to our Sunday and Thursday fellowship, we want to teach them to give back to their community as well. And so sometimes we have them collect or bring in dry food items, and then right before Christmas, we go and distribute them to families we've identified a need for. And so we all go together as a group, we pray with them, and we give them food to bless them for Christmas. Another thing, this one we just assist with. There are other people who lead this one from that community and want to make a difference, but they collect money to serve a Christmas lunch. I had a video, it's not gonna play, but it was just, I can try. But it was just kind of scanning the streets and the crowd, and this is Christmas Day. You know, here it's all the excitement of Santa and our toys, but in Kenya we don't have that. You might see a kid running down the street in an outfit you know is brand new, and that's their excitement for the day. They got a new outfit. Kenyans also walk to the mall to celebrate Christmas. They might only have like a quarter, but they're gonna walk to the mall and they'll walk around and they might buy a soda. That's what they do for Christmas. And so this was just a video of all the people waiting in line, because as much as some people might get a quarter to go to the mall, or they might get a new outfit, there's others who don't even have food for that day. And so it's mostly for the children. There's a few adults that come as well. But spending your Christmas morning serving those people, it really reminds us that Christmas isn't about the material things that we celebrate here, but it's about loving people and showing them that God loves them, and that's what Christmas is all about. Oh, here it goes. That God loves us enough to send His Son. And so that's what we always tell them. We want to share Jesus, and we want to share His love with you. I think it's going to buffer there.
Yeah, those were all the kids waiting in line for food during Christmas Day.
I think usually they serve like 300.
Yeah.
And they start lining up hours before. As soon as they start cooking in the morning, they're getting ready.
I think one thing also we do in Shelby, since we have so many young adults, and especially those from the university, and others are in relationships, we've started a couples kind of like mentoring. And so we've identified some few who come to our house, and we just have a night of games, a night of just talking, and a night of just discussing of what it means to get into marriage. Yeah, I don't know if you have.
I was just a lot of them all come from broken homes,
Yep.
and they don't have an example of what a marriage should be, what a family should function as. And some of them that we meet with do, but some of them don't. And so that's kind of a goal too, talking to them about, not that we've only been married 2 years, we're not experts, but at least what we've learned we can also be sharing with them. And so, yeah, we have couples. Sometimes we just do, like the one couple here, we had American Thanksgiving. They couldn't believe the amount of food that we eat for Thanksgiving. We don't have, turkey is very expensive, so we did chicken. But just sharing a meal with them in an evening, and what are your fears, especially the ones who are engaged and getting ready to be married. And then sometimes we, like the other picture, all three of those, well, 2 of those couples are getting married this year. The other one maybe not this year, but just having them all come together as a group. And we just talk about, what pressures are you feeling planning a wedding, or this, we were playing the newlywed game here just as a, they're the dating game, I guess, not newlywed game, but how well do you know each other game that we were playing here. So just giving them thought-provoking questions too. A book we really like doing with them is Sacred Marriage, which I think some of you guys have done here. And so sometimes we go through that book, and that book is the why of marriage. Why do we get married? It's not necessarily to make us happy, but it's to make us holy. And what does that look like? That's what we talk with them about. And then also mentioned in the video, so it won't take long, is we identified a need of small groups. We meet Sundays and we're a big group. Thursdays is a little bit smaller, but still you need small groups. And so I did a women's group. Unfortunately, we don't take pictures when we're at Bible study, but this was a bridal shower for one of them. And so that was a picture of our whole study. So just meeting together and doing life. As girls, we usually meet at our house. And then Saul, we don't have a picture of like a small group study, but this is a men's study they did one Sunday, just a whole bunch of men together. But his study is a lot smaller than that one. So again, it's just the importance of the small groups and building one another. And our goal is that they learn from this, and then they want to go reach to their own group of friends and start a small group together as well. So Saul thinks I made a corny joke here, but with the picture. But sometimes people ask us, you're giving to everyone else, so how are you being fed spiritually? I mean, giving to other people is rewarding, but sometimes it can be tiresome. When every day you're out doing something. And so I guess Saul can talk a little bit about.
As we attend AIC Ngong Road Church, that is a little miles away from where we stay. And of course, when we were looking for a church, we were looking for a Bible-based church. And I know the pastor, he's the one who married us. And I've known him for a very long time. So I call him Papa, given like he's kind of like my spiritual father. And so that's where we get our nourishment, even after giving and giving and giving. I'm part of the worship team. And so, yeah. So, I don't know, it can play. So, I do, I'm kind of like the second person. There's a worship pastor, and then I'm the second one. And then Shelby helps with the slides and all that. And so we participate in some few programs for the church.
And then I guess Saul could really talk about this one. Another group that's really important to us, they call themselves After God's Heart, but it's a couples fellowship. So it's couples that Saul has grown up with for many years. He went into the group as a single until we got married. Then we started going together. But it's a really good time. Every month we go to a different couple's house. They're the host, and we just come together and we learn more. We share a meal, and then we go on a retreat at the end of the year. And it's just a good time to get away and speak. And so as much as we're giving to other couples, we're also being fed in this couples fellowship. There are couples that have been married, our pastor, Papa, we call them they're our Kenyan parents, but he leads the group. But then 10 years, is that the longest married? No, 14. I think. So, we're a vast difference. Papa has been married for 30, we have 14, and then we're the youngest at almost 2. And so it's just been really great. And then sometimes we all get together. This was at our house, we did a hymn night. Saul loves leading hymns, and so they all love singing hymns. And so we just had a night where we just came and we worshiped together. And those are the nights we really enjoy, just being in the presence of God and worshiping together as a group of believers. One more thing here, we're really running out of time. Good News Productions, which is this church has supported from, I think, the very beginning. We actually were able to meet with Mike Shoggy in Kenya. They have a Good News Center in Kenya. So we're actually doing partnership a little bit with Good News Productions. They're going to come and do a program with our children, and so it's been great. It's just starting, but it's been great to see how we're both learning from each other on different aspects. They came and observed our program with kids, and we're learning so much, and so we're excited, and they come. When we get back, they're going to come and work with our children and learning more about that. So for those of you who know GNPI, obviously, it's good that we can do that partnership with them as well. And so, do you have anything else to add? I know we're running out of time, so I guess we can go to questions and answers, or questions, and then we can try to give answers. If anyone has a question for us about the ministry, our life, or if we don't, that's okay too. Oh, uh-huh.
Okay, so I noticed there was in the aerial photo there's a river runs near, but it didn't look like anywhere near big enough for a town of that size. And is running water common in the modern part of the city, or is it's not an option?
Okay, so Saul says that river is really just sewage. Now, like our house, we have running water. We have city council water. So houses that are built properly, yes, we have running water. But the houses in the slum they're basically built on land that doesn't belong to anyone. And so they don't have running water. And so for them, there are kiosks that the government has set up where you can go and buy how many? 2 cents. 2 cents for 20 liters. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, we're metric system, so I've forgotten I don't know how many gallons that is, but 20 liters, you can, okay, so.
But even for us, in as much that we have a running water, because Nairobi is so congested, we only get water twice a week. So for us, we have a tank underground and up so that we can save water to sustain us. So we don't have running water all through. We only get it twice a week.
Yes, Donita.
I just want to tell you that my husband, Brandon McCullough, and Jack Stahl went to Haiti in 1974 and built a church. And their special project was to build a baptistry. Mm-hmm. And it was quite an experience for them.
Yeah, that's great. I don't know if our church, our fellowship, I don't know if we'll grow that big to need our own baptistry, but we hope so. But our goal is that they come to our fellowship, but they also have their own church. We don't want to be their only church that they're going to for us.
How many percentage-wise would you say are unchurched or unreached in the slum areas?
I will just put in quotes. Kenya is being said it's a Christian in a way. 80% of Kenyan, that is in quote, are Christian. I can say in slums, almost everyone has heard about Jesus. So, for me, this is on my personal level, I don't feel we need evangelists. The thing is, the discipleship, it's more needed. because I feel like everyone has heard about the gospel, and especially in the slums of Nairobi.
Yeah,
So
like-
the discipleship is the one lacking, and people don't know what it means.
Yeah, like you said, especially in Nairobi, almost everyone's heard about Jesus, but so the faith has spread wide, but it's so shallow, like it has no roots. And so that's what our goal is we want to see the roots grow deeper. It's kind of like here, and they teach Christian religion in schools, and then once they leave, or once they're not at their parents and they don't have to go to church anymore, and so our goal is to revive that with our fellowship that we have. And to some, it's a more inviting space than church because it's a little bit more casual, but they're still getting the gospel. And so that helps them step back into the church. It's kind of a stepping stone back into the church. But yeah, like Saul said, the main mission is discipleship. They've heard, it's just helping them understand what they really heard well. And false teaching is such a big thing, or prosperity gospel, that teaching them the truth. And so that's our big thing. Is 10% of the country is Muslim, practices Islam. Like our neighborhood, we have a lot of Somali immigrants who are all Muslim. And we have the mosque that we get to hear every morning at 5 a.m. And so, yes, there are a few that still need to be reached, especially those immigrants from Sudan, Somalia that we have. But for the most part, the slum area is reached with the gospel. It's just that discipleship. Yes, Laura.
I am wondering about the language. Is the kids, do they speak English, or are you having to learn their language?
Well, Kenya was a British colony, so they're English speaking. They learn their national languages are Swahili and English. So in school they're being taught both. So for the kids, their English is pretty good. And my Swahili, I had classes in 2015 when I lived there before. So it's getting better. I'm really good at hearing. Like when he was up here, I know what he's saying, but speaking it is a little bit harder for me. But we have the kids I'm good with. The parents, we have to find a middle ground between my Swahili and their English. Some of the parents, one of the grandmothers doesn't know any English really, and so trying to find that balance. But I told Saul he should just speak only to me in Swahili for like a week at home, and it will get much better. But I'm good at hearing. It's just formulating my response in Swahili sometimes I just go to English. But yeah, most people speak English. Like our church is only we only speak English at church, really. We might sing a few songs in Swahili, but so yeah, if I can sing the words, I know how to pronounce them, but trying to make my own sentence is a little bit difficult. Maybe one more, because I think time is, or if there's no other, that's okay too. Okay. Sorry, guys, I feel like we were rushed, but...
Hey, Shelby, I've got a question.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Oh.
so you said you're renting it. Do you have plans to buy it, or do you have plans to relocate? And then my last question is, how can we partner with you and pray for you guys, or what is it? Can we do anything for you?
That was
you want us
a
all
great
to
intro
come?
to the next slide.
Sweet.
I think His Little Feet's ultimate big dream is to purchase their own land, to build their own community center, even enough land that if parents want to relocate out of the slums to that place, they could maybe build, their own place, and also a business to employ everyone. Everyone who doesn't want to run. Some of our parents, as much as we have microfinance loans, they're like, I'm not a business person. I can't run a business. And so we have those ideas constantly spinning about what business could we start that could employ so many parents and even the young adults that we have in our fellowship. We have people with biochemistry degrees with no jobs in our fellowship. We have people who have really good degrees, but there is no job for them. And so trying to think of opportunities. So that is a goal for His Little Feet, is that they're really just praying for land. But the problem is that land is incredibly expensive in the city. And so the logistics of moving the whole base outside of the city. I think I was looking yesterday, no, it was the other day, I came across land. A quarter of an acre, which I know their acres are different sizes, was 22 million shillings, which is $220,000 for a quarter of an acre. And that's like 30 minutes outside the city. And so a tiny plot by our house was going for $70,000, and it's so tiny. So unfortunately, that's the biggest obstacle right now. And so the logistics of where could you find land that is reasonable, that's the biggest object for His Little Feet. But yes, that is their goal, to build their own community center to serve the children. And a big business, yeah. So you want to talk about prayer needs for us or support?
Yeah, we are all in need of prayer every time. And especially from the Eastern side we come from, it's not like it's that safe. The country has been experiencing some protest because of the high inflation, high prices of the things going up. And so we need prayers for the safety of everyone and also for us. And of course, we also pray that, Lord, that you guys can be praying with us even for in our ministry in itself, that God will give us strength in that. And sometimes we find a lot of discouragement, and sometimes there's a moment where you just want to give up, like, I've given, and they're not listening or they're not responding to what we try to give them. So we pray with us that God will give us the patience to continue loving these children and to continue loving these families that God has put in us. And of course, we are trusting God for more on a personal level. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know where it leads, but we are looking for, we pay rent, and paying rent sometimes owning something is much better than even paying rent. And given how Nairobi is too expensive, it becomes even hard to own it. And so we are trusting God for owning our own place where we can have a big house and, invite people. And I know that's what we want. You can be praying for us with that too.
I think another prayer that we're seeing answered is, our goal is this, we've been away for 6 weeks, and our goal is that if none of us, leaders of our fellowship, or if we're all gone, that we've raised up people well enough to lead it without us. And so we're seeing that little by little. We've been gone. He's raised up people who can lead worship, who can give the sermonette devotion time. And so that's encouraging to us, and we just pray for that continued, that we could totally just be observers at some point. They have the desire to lead on their own. And so I think that's a prayer that we have for that ministry. I think there was one more thing I was going to say, and I don't remember. Okay. But I think there's another personal one that I was going to mention, but I can't remember right now. So that's a little bit about looking ahead and what that looks like. But I think sometimes people ask us if we have a 5-year plan, and sometimes you just say it's day by day. As much as we try to plan, God could tell us we're doing something else. And so we try to make these goals, but we also know that we could be doing something completely different. And so, that's kind of looking ahead for us. But one thing we want to announce, His Little Feet will be coming to this church May 3rd at 6. That's a Wednesday night. And so we have 3 Kenyan kids that you can come love on and say hi to them. That's an exciting thing. The His Little Feet will be coming here that Wednesday night. But again, thank you guys. I feel like we had a lot to say, but I hope you guys understand a little bit more about what we do in our ministry in Kenya. And again, we thank you for your support, your prayers. Again, the sound system that has been a huge blessing to the ministry. Yes, we want to say asante sana, or thank you to all of you. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The looking ahead. His Little Feet is really wanting to start mission trips, they don't want to call them mission trips, vision trips maybe. We can talk so much about it, but until you really see it, sometimes it's hard to grasp what we do or where they live. And so I think at the concert they might be talking about that a little bit. And if you're interested, or if you're just interested in coming to visit us, just let us know as well. That's what I wanted to say. They would like to start planning trips. So if that's of interest, you can let us know and we can pass the message or let them know when they come. So thank you all.